Moving closer to 10.
Is that Ethan's bag?
Ethan's here, he just walked in. I don't know where John is.
I know where Johnny Boy is. Not here. How was class on Friday?
It was good. It was actually good. We did the quiz, and then we just spent really a lot of time kind of going over two things we had trouble with in the quiz, which was a simple question about autopilot, so we went down a rabbit hole. Which was
What was the question?
good. It was how to engage autopilot, and then there was one about what do you do. You have a few different options about what do you do with autopilot turns you in the wrong direction, something like that nature. So we went into a lot of risk management about autopilot, and then we also went pretty deep into GPS. It was good.
Let's see, you should not assume this following flight plan. What did most of the class select? Assume it's following the flight plan you entered. Disconnect the autopilot, regain control, and then troubleshoot. Switch to heading mode and check the flight plan. Notify ATC.
I got this one right, which was disconnect autopilot. I think John put heading mode. I don't remember what Ethan put. But that's why we went into the autopilot things, because John was a little confused on it.
Was what I was saying on that Thursday about autopilot making sense of like you placing the heading bug there and whatnot?
Yeah, I actually told Aaron what you talked about autopilot and how, because that was one of the scenarios kind of went over and I brought up is, you know, if you get told right turn through certain heading and it's more than 180 degrees turn, you put it into autopilot, it could just take the shortest, well, it'll just take the shortest way to get there. You could make a left turn instead, so that's one thing I did bring up with him.
Did he like that or no?
He did.
Okay, cool.
So I was duly impressed.
What is the difference between heading mode and track mode on the autopilot?
I got that one wrong, so
let's see, heading mode flies a magnetic heading, track mode flies a ground bearing. Hello, track mode is not a function of sling aircraft. Is it? I don't know. Track mode flies a magnetic heading, heading mode flies a ground bearing.
it's that one. It's the one with magnetic heading and ground bearing.
Track mode flies magnetic heading. Heading mode flies a ground bearing.
No.
Heading mode flies magnetic heading.
Yes.
Okay. Which of the following is correct way to engage autopilot? I assume the answer was selecting a lateral and vertical mode, then select the AP button.
What was the question again?
Which of the following is the correct way to engage autopilot?
I need to say the answers before giving you.
Selecting the lateral and vertical mode, then select the AP button. Select the FD button, then AP button, then modes. Select the AP button, then setup modes.
I think it was the first one you said.
I think so, yeah.
That's what I'll show you too. Cool. How was everybody's weekend?
Pretty solid. How was your good, Canada?
It was good. Very tiring because it was nonstop go, but it was fun. It was sunny. It was hot.
Nice.
which I heard it wasn't here.
Stop, go, since you have 1 day, 2 days to be there.
2 full days, yeah.
It was sunny hot
Here,
up north that when I was
Oh.
up my up back home.
If you wanted to get sunny and hot up here, you could go 30 miles to the east.
if you wanted to get 70 and hot here, you have to take a nap and dream. Cause it never gets hot here.
Oh
In El Cajon it does, but not by the beach where you want it to be hot.
Oh no, yeah.
Yeah, just look out over the east. It's like 110 over there today.
Mm.
Oh, Ethan, you like this? I went and flew some tail wheel.
Ooh.
Santa Paula. It's yep.
Nice.
Option tag. That's my fiance. That's one of the planes that flew.
Where was that? Was that this weekend? Jeez.
Yeah, that was yesterday.
Can you turn or tell me the remote?
My leash.
How long was your guys' flight?
I flew 2 different tails. Flew one early in the morning. We only had TPA, and then got some breakfast after, and then I went back up in the nicer Satavia, which has a much better engine. So that thing climbs like 1,000 feet per minute. It's powerful. I was flying that thing, and then the winds got weird. I hit a little wind stage on final, and I was like, okay, I'm done. So
Like you had to me for that. That for a day
I'll call it.
probably pretty harsh, right?
It's actually, I think, easier to deal with weird winds and stuff like that when you're in tailwheel, because it actually handles it really well.
Huh.
Especially that blue topic, because that thing's got massive wings and it just produces a lift like crazy. So even when you have power pulled and you hit little wind shift,
Mm-hmm.
it feels a little weird, but it can handle it. Especially since the stall speeds are so low or slow on that thing. But it's fine.
I'm curious why you're flying so much tailwheel.
Hmm?
Now I'm curious why you're flying so much tailwheel.
I just like it.
You just like it?
I just like it. I just wanted to go fly for fun.
Oh, that's fair.
So,
Same.
where do you ever want to go? I'm doing my 172 checkup today
Mm.
at +1.
Who's the instructor?
Okay, you know what's crazy? So I put in the CFI service request. Everybody was on me like hawks.
Oh yeah.
Dude, this guy, what's his name? His name was Parker Michelet. I'm going with him because I gotta give it to him because he called me in 20 seconds after I submitted it, and then I had 15 others texting and calling me in the next like 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he had a call, a text from Anthony
I saved everyone's numbers because
Thompson.
that. Oh shit, there's a couple I didn't respond to. No, I don't think.
Oh, Anthony?
That's surprising.
That is surprising.
It's 1,500 hours since this doesn't want to work anymore.
That's kind of surprising. I haven't heard much from him though.
Good, don't.
What happened?
No.
He's just annoying. Once you show him interest, he won't leave you alone.
Mood. I did get an email from someone named Quinn.
Quinn?
Mhm.
Who emails these days?
Um,
I have something for you.
you do.
I'm sorry I don't have anything for you, but you just probably wouldn't be interested in the same way. From, first off, pick a pocket. This pocket or this pocket?
Right's always right.
So my right or your right?
You're right.
It's like, should I get it?
No.
Pick a pocket. Straight from Tokyo Bay Pokemon Center in Japan. Limited and special to only that Pokemon Center, Tokyo Bay.
Ooh.
I don't know if you already have it, because I know you're just there, but.
No, I actually haven't gone to this Pokemon Center yet.
That's cool.
It's one of the ones in Tokyo I haven't been to. Like, somehow you got it.
Thing is,
It's awesome. Oh yeah.
yeah, it's cool because like those things you could only get from that location, like that specific location.
You know, it's funny that reminds me of my uncle because for the longest he still flies to Tokyo, but the longest time that was one of his main trips when I was a kid. So he'd always go to Tokyo and Beijing. He was going to Tokyo, Beijing a lot. And in Beijing, he'd always hit the pirated movie guy who sell you the movies that haven't really come out yet with Chinese subtitles on them. So he'd always bring movies back for us, and in Japan, he'd always bring us these really good pizza chips. Have you seen those?
Pizza chips.
Yeah, they look like just like Ruffles, like Ruffled chips, but they're pizza flavored. They have actual cheese on them. The best chips on earth. So good, but he'd always bring us back a bunch of cool stuff from Japan. So that reminds me of Vixie.
Yeah, you could
Bring
like
cool stuff.
if you don't
That's
know what
so
to
cool.
get somebody as a gift, there's things I feel like even somebody who doesn't like Pokemon would be like, oh, that's cool. Like Pokemon's Japanese. This is from I don't know, you know, like there's so many cool
It is
gifts.
cool. It is cool. It's just
Maybe if you were more of a nerd, I would have given you one too.
Hey, I get nerdy about
Yeah,
some things.
cool
okay?
guy.
I'm nerdy about coins. I'm a coin nerd. That's my nerd obsession.
Maybe next time I go to Vegas, I'll bring back my collection so you could see it.
I do
Very,
want
it's
to see
very
those.
small. It's not like a lot, but it's cool.
Next time you fly to Vegas, you're gonna make a little bit of a detour. Just park and stay the night.
Probably.
Honestly,
That's what I usually try to do. Want to do like
so
instrument.
your parents are over there, or
Mhm.
nice?
Yeah.
Lucky. I think I have. Yeah, I don't have family in Vegas who are nearest I could fly to, but I could probably stay at is at one point.
Well, that's like something I'd like to do is my cross country is just basically plan them to just go home. Let's go fly to Camarillo. Plus, they have a really good cafe there.
Oh yeah, I went there for the first. I've flown to Camarillo so many times, and finally flew during the day when it's open. Dude, that's probably.
It's
I was. The food was really good.
good food.
I couldn't finish it all. The brisket was sold out or whatever it was, ribeye or whatever. But the milkshake was probably the best milkshake I've ever had.
And they bring you the extra in the metal cup too.
Like
I
if
think
they're
it's
not
good.
bringing you the extra in the metal cup, that's probably not going to be a good milkshake. But
You know what's funny? So my buddy who took me up in the diamond, he's been my friend since middle school, and he's my first ever instructor out in Rio. So whenever we got done with the lesson, because he knows everyone who works at the restaurant, so we never had to wait in the line out front because the line's fucking ridiculous. So we'd always drive in, we'd park near transient, and we'd just walk to the side, get a table in like 2 seconds, and we'd always go eat after flying. So it was
a good time.
It was nice. I got to experience that again. Him and I went after
sick.
flying the diamond, went back, sat, had food. That place is just good.
Good spot.
Oh,
Good vibes.
Where is this?
Camarillo,
on
it's
the
like
airport.
On the airport.
Wait, it's called Waypoint Cafe, and it's like it's so good. there's always a line of like 30 people at the door.
Yeah, I think when you fly in, it's a lot better because we just walked through the gate and they just gave us the table. Like it was busy.
Yeah,
We were just like,
That's-
heck yeah.
that's definitely the way to do it. Is because yeah, even if you don't, like I got lucky with him because he just knows them all. So they're like, oh Nathan, it's me. Where do you want to go?
Mhm.
But even if you just fly in, park a transient, walk over there, yeah, you'll get seated faster.
Mhm.
It's nice.
All right, shall we?
Let's do this.
All right, today we're specifically gonna be talking about ILS's week 4, day 1. He can go over this at all, right?
No.
Okay. So ILS, instrument landing system, is a type of approach, specifically a precision approach that provides azimuth and vertical guidance along with distance and an approach lighting system to navigate pilots from the arrival and route phase to the landing at the destination airport. So,
Is azimuth? Is that just the lateral
Mhm.
guidance?
so it'll probably break it down. Yeah, I will. So I'll wait to go in this. So here's a diagram of what it looks like. So you have your lateral guidance and then you have your vertical guidance. Specifically, when you're coming in, the lateral or the localizer frequency is going to be 90 hertz to the left of center line, 150 hertz to the right of center line. And that's how it detects where you are, right? Once it starts reading the 90 hertz as opposed to the 150, it determines if you're going a little bit to the left, a little bit to the right.
Quick question on the what's it called? For ILS, is it pretty much always a localizer for the left, or can
Always.
it vary? Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It's always okay.
Yeah.
But sometimes you can see a localizer approach that's not an ILS, right? Like sometimes it could just
Yes.
be
The
a
difference
localizer.
is our airport, who only has a localizer, versus Montgomery, who has an ILS or localizer. Right. The
okay.
difference is localizer approach just uses that localizer. Gillespie Field only has the localizer equipment, those like reddish
No
orange
vertical guidance.
antennas at the end of the runway.
Okay.
ILS has the localizer equipment, but they also have the glide slope equipment, which you'll see it on the airport. It's kind of like a little tower box looking thing. So it just depends on the airport, but
Interesting.
we don't have that glide slope. Cool. I'm not gonna really go too much into the dimensions. If you look in that Pilots Cafe document I sent you guys, it should have a breakdown of like the localizer and glide slope frequency, the dimensions as far as like how far out can you start picking up the localizer, how far out can you start picking up the glide slope, all that would be in there. It's pretty straightforward.
Cool.
So parts to an ILS, and I would like to add the fourth part. So when I was asked this question on my check ride, what are the components of an ILS? The answer that the DPE was looking for, and this is insinuating that I only partly got it correct and didn't fully get it correct. Have it out of bunker, I guess.
What does RANS mean?
Range.
Oh.
Are your G's
Roger.
coming into buses?
My G's are turning into, I'm trying to write quick, so you guys can maximize the amount of stuff that you hopefully learn.
I'm gonna go into check everything. Yeah, so the Rand's portion of the
Just replace every, yeah, the G on my keyboard isn't working. Every G replaced with S. So components of an ILS, you have your lateral guidance, which is the localizer. You have your vertical guidance, which is the glide slope. You have your range or distance, which will be the marker beacon. And then you have your visual, the approach lighting system, which according to 91-175 kilo is optional. But I would still talk about the 4 components in ILS. Lateral, localizer, vertical, glide slope, range, distance, beacons, marker beacons, and then visual approach lighting system. Okay, so here is our guidances. So the azimuth or the lateral, left and right, is provided by the localizer. Vertical guidance, up or down, provided by the glide slope. So right, we'll have the localizer at the end of the runway. It looks like these orange, red sort of antenna looking things.
looks like there's then the runway towards the west here, right?
Yes. So you'll have the localizer signal, which will sort of form a cone, and you'll have your center line. As I mentioned, when you start to get to the left into the 90 hertz or right into the 150, it'll start to read that and notice that, and then it'll indicate the CDI to deflect in one direction. Then your glide slope, right? You have a little glide slope equipment that will have the same frequencies, 90, 150, and then when you go up versus down below the glide slope, it'll indicate accordingly. Localizer, so it sends out 2 signals. For our purposes, we call them signal A and signal B, or 90 hertz, 150 hertz. To receive an on-course indication, the airplane must be receiving equal parts of both signal A, 90 hertz, and signal B, 150 hertz. If the airplane is receiving more of one signal than the other, the pilot will notice an off-course indication on their HSI. And just like VORs, if we're to the left of course, that needle will deflect to the right, meaning we have to fly towards the needle to bring it in. If we're to the right of course, the needle will deflect to the left, and we'll have to fly towards the needle to bring it back in to the left. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Good. Okay, so it doesn't include it. Localizer service area, meaning where can you receive signal from the localizer? It's located at the back end of the runway it serves. So for us, the localizer will be on the 9er left end of the runway, or the departure end of the runway for 27 right. When an aircraft is within these service areas depicted, the pilot can be assured that they're receiving the correct lateral indications. If the aircraft is outside these service areas depicted, the pilot does not have assurance of the correct lateral indications. So we have a runway and our localizer. The first portion will extend 35 degrees, 35 degrees either side, up to 10 nautical miles. And then 10 degrees either side, up to 18 nautical miles. And you see this first airplane right here is in that surface area, meaning we're going to receive correct indications. And this airplane down here is outside of that, meaning that we will most likely receive incorrect indications. So 35 degrees, 10 nautical miles, 10 degrees, 18 nautical miles.
If you're in either of those service areas and you basically go or drift outside of it, would you just see a full deflection of the needle with the localizer, or would it just start to read
It
incorrectly?
would probably fully deflect, or maybe even like I don't think it'll necessarily say you're like the opposite side, but I think it'll just kind of be moving around.
Mm. So then you kind of know it's like, okay, well, the airplane's stable, but I'm still seeing fluctuating indications. Then you can say I'm probably not on it.
Yeah, kind of like a VOR. Like if you tune to Pogi VOR when you're all the way over El Cap, or even a little bit further, and you're at like 5.5, right? Their line of sight, we have a bunch of mountains, pretty far away, like I think like 25, 30 nautical miles. You're gonna see it deflect to the left and right. You can't get an accurate reading.
Mhm.
The course width. The course width of a localizer can range between 3 to 6 degrees depending on the length of the landing runway. This is because the localizer's course width, or when a pilot will go full deflection, is always 700 feet wide at the approach end of the runway. So at the runway, it's 700 feet wide. Hence, longer runways will have narrower course widths due to shorter runways will have the wider course width. So here's a longer runway with a narrow width. Here's a shorter runway with a wider width. The localizer course alive, not full scale deflection.
Does that mean all localizers are set to a certain amount of width? Because if they were built specific for each runway, then this wouldn't have to be there, right?
I'm gonna assume that I'm going to assume that they are sort of specific to each runway.
I'm asking because the slides make it seem like the 3 to 6 degrees is universal to every localizer that is made, and it's not dependent on the size of the runway.
Well, I think it's 3 to 6 degrees depending on the size of the runway. That's why they give a range.
Mhm.
So it's not going to be a large difference in degrees, but that 3 to 6 is dependent on the width of the runway. So a shorter runway might be the wider width of 6 degrees. The longer runway might be the narrower width of 3 degrees. That makes sense. That's why they give a range, depending on the runway,
Yeah,
as opposed to just saying 3 degrees. Okay, it's 3 to 6 because runways are different.
I'm just confused with the length of the runway. That would be considered longer versus shorter would be.
Oh,
San Bernardino, 10,000 feet. Gillespie Field, 5,000 feet. Those are obviously different lengths.
True, but
So I don't know how they calculate or how they like. Okay, if it's above 5,282 feet, then it's this many degrees versus if it's under, it's this many degrees. I don't know how they calculate that.
so so basically the degree range 3 to 6 degrees that varies because at the approach end the width is always 700 feet, so they adjust the degree width
Pretty sure.
to compensate for either a shorter or longer runway.
Pretty sure. Right, because you have to think about the localizer being at the end of the runway, right? The sensitivity might change a little bit as, like, let's just say here on the longer runway, you're at this end, right? You're now a lot further than away from the localizer than you would be if you were right here in the localizer. It's on a shorter runway. So that's why they make these adjustments, is because your distance from the localizer will be different when you're, depending on how long the runway is. The longer the runway, the further the localizer goes. Good?
Got it.
So therefore, it's gonna be a little more gradual of a cone on a longer runway, because it can't just go wide right away. It has to keep it sort of proportional.
And that's why the approach end's always 700 feet, so they'll just adjust that.
Mhm.
Okay, that makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Glide slope service area. So glide slope works in a similar manner to the localizer. It's just tipped up on its side to provide vertical guidance instead of the lateral guidance. The glide slope is typically located on the side of the runway and it serves side of the runway serves and has the service areas depicted on this slide. So yeah, glide slope will typically be near the touchdown zone markings. Extends up to 10 nautical miles, 0.7 degrees from center line, either side. This orange plane is showing that you are low, so you'll have a low indication, meaning that glide slope triangle or diamond is going to be high, showing that you're low. And how do we, if we're below the glide slope, how do we correct for it? Do we climb up and catch up to it?
You will
Level off for a little bit.
Yep, you hold and just level off. Glide slope right here, we're showing we're good. And then if we're high, if we're above the glide slope, that indicator will be low. We just want to make small corrections. Most of the Jepson charts show what descent rate in feet per minute you have to follow the glide slope. And it's usually an odd number, like 485 or 570, like weird number, right? We only indicate by the 100, or the 50. So you know if it's 500 feet per minute to follow the glide slope, and you were descending at 400 feet per minute, what's going to happen to that glide slope indicator? Is it going to move up or is it going to move down?
It'll move down.
If you're descending at 400 feet per minute, and you have to descend at 500 feet per minute to follow the glide slope, so you're descending less than what the glide slope requires.
So you'll be above it. So where did the indication go? When did the indication on the HSI side go down?
Yeah.
Because basically, if it's below, then that's just relative. Like that's your position relative to the glide slope. So if it's below, you're above it.
Yep.
Okay.
And then vice versa. If you're descending at 700 feet per minute, now the indication will move up, indicating that you're below it.
If you follow the glide slope directly down all the way, would you, and level off, would you be able to use a glide slope solely for a purpose of landing in, say, vertical visibility? Like, it wouldn't be legal FAA wise, but could you?
Like in zero visibility?
Yeah.
No, you have to have like different equipment. Like there's different like categories of approaches. And like the planes have to have equipment and like capability, because it'll just follow it down, right? But if you can't see the runway, it's not going to tell you when to flare, right? It's just you're just gonna, like, you can put GPS autopilot on to follow the glide slope, and it'll just keep that descent rate into the ground. It's not gonna it wouldn't level off for you. It wouldn't detect where the runway is. It would just take you straight down at whatever descent rate. So you could take it all the way to the ground, but you're probably gonna have to be getting towed off the runway, because you're gonna be maintaining a 500 feet per minute descent rate all the way down. So marker beacons, the range. Some ILS approach systems use marker beacons to alert a pilot to their location along the final approach. There's 3 types: outer marker, middle marker, inner marker. Many times marker beacons can be cycled between high and low sensitivity modes. When performing ILS approaches, it is best to use them in low sensitivity mode to help ensure accuracy. So I don't quite think that these are really used anymore.
Now would you just use it GPS?
GPS or DME.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are these ever brought up in check rides anymore because of that?
Yeah, you'll wanna, when you answer the 4 components, he wanted to hear marker beacons, so.
You just.
We have to
go
know
the
it, but obviously we don't have equipment for marker beacons, so.
Yeah,
I'm assuming marker beacons are used a lot more outside of the US, say flying in Mexico then.
no, I could probably see that, yeah. But basically, we would have a little thing right here that shows OMI, and you guessed it, outer, middle, inner, blue, yellow, white. And when you've reached that, right, it's gonna be like some sort of device along the final approach. They have planted somewhere out there, and when you fly over it, that outer marker, that blue, will flash, and that shows, okay, I'm at this point. When you get to the yellow, right, 200. This is glide slope intercept, 200 feet above decision height. And this is category 2 decision height, but anywho, we'll get into that later. But when you fly over it, it'll light that light up and show where you are. So pretty handy, right? Unless that light bulb goes out and unless you don't factor that into your scan.
If you have that sort of equipment for marker beacons, do you have to tune? Is it automatically tuned when you're on the ILS if you're set up for the ILS, or do you have to tune
I
it separately?
I think it would automatically be tuned.
Or would it
Because
just
it should be sort of paired with a glide slope.
okay? Because I'm assuming it's like that instrument is just set up to, because it's not going to receive indications if you're just like out in the middle of nowhere. But if you're flying over, maybe it just automatically.
I think you have to be tuned. So when you tune to that localizer frequency, when you're on the localizer in a glide slope, it should recognize that. Because yeah, right, you have other aircraft maybe flying way above you as you're coming in on an approach. Well, who's to say that it won't set it off, you know, if another aircraft flies over it? Yeah. Lastly, approach lighting system, ALS. So the visual component to an approach is called the approach lighting system. There's different types, so they can vary in their appearance and function. However, they're intended to aid the pilot in transitioning between instrument flight rules to visual flight rules and a subsequent landing. So I know it's kind of hard, this picture is small, but you have, what is this? ALSF2, ALSF1, SSALR, MALSR, MALSF, ODALS. So these are, hopefully it goes
What does
into
Mauser stand for again?
medium intensity approach lighting system, I believe. So this is what they're going to look like. So as you see, they're very similar. They just look different. So it's going to have the green lights here at the runway. You have the red lights, usually some flashing light. So right here, this is going to be, we have a few steady lights, but then we'll have like the rabbit, right? The one that's like flashing, pointing towards the runway. One of the cool ones to see is the rabbit light at Miramar at night. It's like super long and super quick. It's just really cool looking. Okay. But sometimes the ILS does not have an approach lighting system. You would see the approach lighting system, like you would say it right here somewhere. There'd be a box somewhere right here. And this is the ILS runway 6 in the San Bernardino.
So it won't specify if it doesn't have it, it would just specify if it does.
Yes, but it might say if approach lighting system is out of service, then change your minimums to this. Yeah. Okay. Here's what the approach lighting system in the K2A, the ILS 29 right looks like. I don't know why I have like that, but. So this is the medium intensity approach lighting system. You got 1,000 feet right here, 2,200 feet for the entire thing, 775. You have the 4-box VASI, right? Pappy is going to be the 4 lights side by side, but you have the 4-box, 2-box, but 4 light VASI. The threshold lights are those green ones. The runway, the end of runway for displaced threshold. These are not the terminating bars. And then you have the runway alignment indicator lights and flashers, which are right here.
That's what the R in it means. Runway alignment indicator lights.
Yes.
No, we actually have instrument approach like that in Santa Paula. It's actually just one street light and there's a couple trees, and once these don't hit the trees in the approach, you're good. You're on glide path. So it's
Nice. Parallel ILS approaches. So I feel like this should be a bigger airport, but they might be side by side on a parallel runway. There's dependent parallel ILS approaches, simultaneous independent parallel ILS approaches, simultaneous close independent parallel ILS approaches. Mouthful.
Can you go back one really quick?
What's the difference between simultaneous close and simultaneous independent?
Well, if Shai wasn't taking forever on notes, that'd be on the next slide.
God.
Some student.
You should be able to simultaneously take notes and listen.
I'm gonna simultaneously
Yes.
kick your ass in a second.
Abbreviate everything so you don't know what you wrote down later.
You gotta take notes like it's just a craft clearance.
Exactly.
Exactly.
When you look back at it
Alright.
later, questioning what you were writing.
Proceed.
So Ethan, a dependent parallel ILS approach. So these parallel approaches may be established where the runway center lines are between 2,500 and 9,000 feet apart. Aircraft on these approaches must be staggered as seen in the depiction according to the distance between the runway. And it's just showing in this range of the center lines being that far apart, the airplanes need to be a mile staggered apart. From 3,600 to 8,300, these staggered airplanes must be 1.5 nautical miles apart. 8,300 to 9,000, the aircraft must be staggered 2 nautical miles apart. Simultaneous independent ILS, parallel ILS approaches. So these parallel approaches may be established where the runway center lines are between 4,300 and 9,000 feet apart. Aircraft on these approaches may be parallel but not encroach on the no transgression zone, NTZ, which is going to be this yellow box. So 4,300 feet to 9,000 feet, They can be parallel, just cannot enter the no transgression zone.
So it's basically just a barrier to make sure you're staying on center line, just come
Mhm.
across that.
In the plane, how does that look like?
It doesn't, just don't get off course.
Oh,
I don't know if there's a certain deflection that you would see, but keep it within ACS standards, no more than 3/4 deflection, you'll probably avoid not
what's the
being
nearest
here.
airport that has this?
Huh?
What's the nearest airport that
Oh
has
God,
this? Probably LAX.
probably LAX, yeah. Maybe. I doubt it. Maybe. Nope, never mind. I was gonna say maybe Palm Springs, but they don't even have an ILS.
Do you think John Wayne has it?
John Wayne is whatchamacallit? Potentially, but John Wayne's 20 left is pretty
It's pretty small.
pretty
So
small.
major airliners probably can't use it.
Yeah, they only have 20 right. So yeah, I would say probably uh probably
Ontario might.
LAX. You said what?
Ontario might.
Ontario, yes. ILS 26 left, ILS 26 right. Yep. Now, the question of which I know you're going to ask, and I do not know the answer to, is, well, is Ontario ILS's a dependent simultaneous or the simultaneous close independent? I do not know. We would have to probably measure. I'm looking at the approach plate right now to see. I don't see anything.
I don't either.
Quick question
Yes.
on, so for the, right, the dependent parallel ILS. Between 2,500 and 9,000 feet apart for one runway center lines.
Mm-hmm.
And those aircraft must be staggered, but how come a lot of the distance between is the same range for simultaneous independent ILS, 4,300 and 9,000 feet? So if there were two airports and both had 8,000 feet between runway and center lines, how
It
would,
falls in both ranges, so how would
it
you
just depends how they
determine?
set it up?
Yeah. Yeah, because 4,000 feet falls in this one, right? The yellow, 1.5 nautical miles. And then 5,000 feet falls in here. And then it also falls in here. So yeah, how would they determine?
Hmm.
Oh no. See if it says anything.
Maybe it's in the AFG? No, I don't think it would be in there.
Oh, so okay.
Keyboard doesn't work. Consult the instrument approach charts and the ATC procedures for a specific airport.
So I guess it's
Chart.
really just up to the FAA then, if they did want to determine.
Chart note will indicate simultaneous operations require use of vertical guidance. Well, what was that? What'd you say?
I was saying, so basically it's up to the FAA. If they, whether even though it falls in the ranges of dependent or simultaneous independent, simultaneous close. One airport could fall under all of those ranges in terms of how far the center lines are apart.
Mhm.
Basically, they could just determine if it's going to be simultaneous, independent, or close. Could be based on the approach to the airport, maybe terrain or how traffic separation is handled.
Yeah. Terrain. Just the unspoken rules that ATC just always plans it so that, you know, maybe if it's a dependent ILS approach. ATC always plans it and times it, so you never have two aircraft coming in side by side.
You see that for like VFR into Montgomery a lot. Actually, basically every day there.
Yeah, I would just say maybe it's ATC permitting.
Can I take a quick
Yeah,
break so I can
ATC
figure it out?
enforces staggered approaches to maintain aircraft safety.
So it's not for us to know, it's for ATC to know.
You're not worthy of such information. The feds don't want us to know.
Apparently.
Can I like go to the bathroom real quick?
Big guy. Can you wait 20 seconds while I brief this? Then this is the last thing, we can take a break.
Yeah.
So now the simultaneous close independent, runway center lines are between 3,000 and 4,300 feet apart. Did I already go over this? No, I didn't.
No.
So a little bit closer. And then aircraft on these approaches may be parallel, not encroach the no transgression zone. Once again, these approaches require precision runway monitoring by ATC. So as we see, the distance between center line is now a smaller gap, but still allowing the aircraft to be parallel while entering the no transgression zone, but require PRM, precision runway monitoring by ATC. And basically, it's a radar system.
That's cool.
High speed, high precision radar to monitor the approach paths and ensure aircraft maintain separation within a NTZ. They significantly increase airport capacity. Yeah.
Time for a break.
Yeah.
Did you end up getting those older sets while you were away?
Yeah, I didn't open it, didn't get anything.
Hey, you got California, apparently that was expensive there. I think I saw a booth at yes, it was Ninja Exchange.
Did you go to that thing this weekend?
I tried to.
I wanted to, but I was out of town.
I tried to.
Mm.
I had to switch it up and because I got there because it closed at 4. I was aiming to get there, got several things that caught us and left us behind, and would have gotten there at 4:30, so we just changed and decided to go to round 1.
Mm.
Oh well.
Oh well.
Went to Ninja Exchange the next day.
Mhm.
Went to Ninja the next day.
Oh, okay.
So I got that. That's why I know they have vintage packs there right now.
Mm.
There is Min-Max Games. They have it in their little corner.
Okay.
I saw Pop Series 2, so I'm like, ooh, that's pretty cool.
I kind of just feeling lost in my journey right now because, well, one, I'm waiting for those two PSA cards to come back.
Uh-huh.
And then that'll, I think, sort of set the trajectory of me wanting to like build a collection of cool like slabs. If they come back like sevens or eights, less than what the raw card is worth, then that might be a little discouraging. But I
Just crack the slab. You know
yeah.
that, right?
Yeah. But as of right now, I'm like, okay, do I want to just go for cool slabs? Do I want to finish my Galarian Gallery, but do I get the last card in as a slab? Do I get it raw? The Giratina one. I kind of want to get a slab for it, just like the cherry on top, like the last card of the set.
So I went to Cultured Vibe on Friday as well, and I saw they had like 3 or 4 of the Giratinas
Mm.
in a card shop that opened up in the mall.
Jakey Co.
Get the name.
At Culture Vibe, but the car shop, yeah, it should be Jakey's Co. That's like my favorite. I watch her all the time, play all her videos.
You watch her?
Yeah,
I
she's
saw
like a
her record-
YouTuber that opened up. If it's the same shop, is it on the second floor?
Yeah, 3rd floor. Because Ninja
Yes.
is on the 3rd floor.
Culture Vibe.
It's right next to Cultured Vibe.
Yeah, yeah, it should be the Jinkies Co.
Might be. I want to know if they're open more than just what is listed. I don't think they're actually on Google Maps yet.
No, you can't find it. What is listed?
There is Dits Hits, bulked up cards, and then Cultured Vibe itself and comics and stuff. I'm pretty
Dits
sure
Hits has a store.
pretty sure they just put themselves in there, but probably a Cultured Vibe.
Hmm. Did you see this girl at all? At that whatever card shop it was.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so it's her shop. And she's like a YouTuber.
I've never seen their channel though. I was watching because I was there trying to kill some time because I was carpooling with my dad on Friday, and I was watching them open up the Chinese. I think it was the Jolteon box,
Mm,
and they were standing there and talking about it, and they were getting everything wrong about it. I'm like,
really?
standing there,
Shame.
just standing there like that has this, this, and this in it. And the other products that are associated with this also have this and this in it. I'm like, you're selling these. How do I know more?
Newbies. Yeah. Do I want to just go for slabs? Do I want to get the slab for the Giratina? Do I just want to get the card? What do I do with like my Galarian Gallery when I finish it? Do I just keep it in my closet? I have some like 151 stuff. Did I want to start that? Do I not? I have no idea.
I think you're gonna find the most enjoyment trying to hunt a card you think will grade into a PSA 10.
Mm,
So if you go search around for it raw and then try to send it in to grade based off of that, I think you'll have the most fun with it.
hmm.
The only issue you'll have is once you finally pick a card, the time it takes for it to get graded.
Yeah. So go and try to find the Giratina, the gold Giratina raw, but what I think looks the best. And it could be a 10.
Exactly.
If people have it, if shops have those and they have them in like they probably know better than me, why wouldn't they send it in? Just because they know they can sell it quicker.
True.
Raw as opposed to sending it in to get graded.
That is true, but from what I've heard, from other vendors at Ninja Exchange. There are some vendors there I think for a very long time before they started vending there. And they were telling me that Culture Vibe is kind of new
Mm,
in the terms of a lot of the people there don't really know what they're looking for.
mm,
Because Culture Vibe was quote unquote supposed to be a clothing type place,
mm-hmm,
but Pokemon's a lot more popular right now.
mm-hmm. Hmm.
So that's also why I was able to find those Gem Volume 2 boxes for their market price instead of higher.
Mm,
Because 45 is really low.
mm-hmm.
Because you can get those boxes on eBay for around that price, including the ship.
Hmm. Yeah. Maybe I'll try to do that. I'll try to hunt for the Giratina and
Again,
raw.
the person that you just showed me, their shop that they've just opened up, I looked on Friday and had like 4 or 5 with
Okay.
Giratina in their case. And they're buying at 80% right now
Mm-hmm.
because they're trying to expand their card shop.
Yeah.
Because they just opened.
Hmm.
Do you
Yeah.
know when they're open? Are they open every day?
They're
So I'm hoping they are.
they're open every day. I want to say they open at like 10 or 11 and close at like 7 or 8. So
And then that means I don't have to wait for Culture Vibe to be open on the weekends.
I know. Maybe I might need to go to Escondido tomorrow for something, or San Marcos. Which means I'll be close to Escondido, so maybe I'll stop by there tomorrow.
It's always worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you don't buy anything, just going there and chill is just so much fun.
Mm-hmm. And then I think I'm gonna keep going to the vending machines. Because I found something out,
Mhm.
and maybe I already knew this, but the vending machines, even if they say sold out,
They will refresh.
they
They'll
still
refresh.
have stuff in it, they're like on a time reset.
Yes, it's to prevent scalping.
Mm-hmm. Which makes it a little more encouraging because it's like,
That means you show up any day, anytime, and they're
Yep.
there.
yep. I think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like if you go to one and there's like single packs for sale. And let's just say you buy the pack and it crosses off sold out, then you could like take a lap around the store and come back and tap the machine again, and now one of the ETBs like could be unlocked, you know?
I've never heard of that, but that sounds.
That's what somebody was saying on Reddit, that they bought it after you buy something, one of the other things could unlock. Cause most people just buy something, says sold out, and then they walk away. Or it could also be on a time reset where right when you buy it, you know, like soon after it could reset and unlock something else.
I just need to make friends with one of the guys that does the engineering behind them.
Mm-hmm.
Just give me the answers. I need to know. I'm one of the few people that won't use it.
Yeah, I just want one. It's not a thing I'm doing what you're doing. I have the prismatic ETB and then I have Destined Rivals ETB. So,
You know what my brother did?
hmm.
He collected all of these Sword and Shield ATVs sealed and has them on above his bed.
Mm.
He bought them mostly at retail. They've been skyrocketing.
That's what I want to do from these vending machines, just like get in retail.
Thing is, he bought when he finished his collection, the ETBs altogether were worth like, I don't know, $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
And now he looks at the price of 3 or 4 of those ETBs, and those 4 ETBs now are worth that for total.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I want to go through this really quick, and then I want to pull up the Jepson charts, so I'll grab my iPad for that. Oh, shit, okay, there we have it in here, Jepson, perfect. So the approach chart, the briefing. The order of the briefing or the memory aid you can use to brief these approaches is called NRAMs. You may wonder, but Corey, that says NRAM. Why are you saying NRAMs? Well, this is something that I think people should adopt. And people don't, and I don't understand why, and I'll explain why they should afterwards. But NRAMs, 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 NRAMs. There is an S that should be at the end, and I'll explain it in a minute. So NOTAMs.
Interesting. So they added another A and added a third N for NOTAMs and altimeter. Even though usually when I write down in
ATIS slash altimeter, yeah, I get that. NOTAMs. The
You say right should be in there? Would you say NOTAMs should be in there?
I don't know, because in my opinion, you're on the ground, you shouldn't need this, right? You have this, you're on the ground, you're reading it, you're in your fucking car before you get into the airplane, whatever it may be, you're briefing the whole approach play on the ground. When you're in the air, this is what you use as sort of a shorthand version or a memory aid version, so you don't forget anything.
Yeah.
So the NOTAM, and I'm gonna just write all this out. Whoops, almost wrote a navigation.
Navigation?
Literally, the navigation is going to save your life.
Okay, so you're just basically moving the R, make it NRAM instead of NARM. They have it as NARM.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
stupid. So NOTAMs, right? You should be doing this on the ground. You should not be looking for NOTAMs in the air, which is why I'm hesitant on using this abbreviated approach brief acronym while you're in the air, because you've already done a full brief and checked the NOTAMs, which on ForeFlight would pop up right here.
okay.
So
So this is an in-flight, you're getting ready to set up for the approach.
Maybe it's for if you're like on a really long flight.
potentially, what I think, and now that I'm thinking about it, this is good for this to be in here. Yes, you've already checked the NOTAMs on the ground. You should have already done that in NW Craft, right? 91, 103. But in the air, on this approach, let's just say the minimums are 500 feet. But there's a NOTAM saying the approach lighting system is out. And if the approach lighting system's out, you bump up the minimums to 600 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if you eliminate this, you're not going to remember to put the minimums at the correct adjusted 600 feet. So maybe just having that in there to say, okay, just say there weren't any NOTAMs, or NOTAMs, we're gonna have to change the minimums when we get to that. Like just kind of pulling it out, you know? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sort of like a memory aid to your pre-flight.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm gonna switch it up and put navigation first. So load, approach into GPS.
That would also be
And
good.
do not get confused. If we're doing an ILS, VOR, localizer, just because we load it into our GPS does not make it a GPS approach. We are still on green needles, we're still doing a ground-based approach. Why do we use GPS? In lieu of
DME.
DME. That's the only reason why, for DME, and that's it. Unless we're doing an RNAV approach, and then we are relying on that GPS. That approach loaded in GPS. But load that first, because when you do this, sometimes, guess what it automatically does? It loads your nav aid frequency into standby. So nav aids, right? We have a procedure entered under navigation, and then you're either doing your VOR or localizer frequency into your nav aids, right? Let's say we're
Okay.
doing the ILS into Montgomery, you're putting that ILS localizer frequency in primary. Needles, right? Green or magenta. Ethan, what color needles is for an RNAV approach?
RNAV is GPS, so purple,
What color needles for an ILS?
green,
What about a VOR?
green,
What about a localizer?
green.
Perfect. So, how do we switch it? Do you know how to switch it?
Yeah, CDI.
And where do you find that?
Oh, and the G3X. I'm so used to.
How do you do it?
That's
What's the
nice.
easiest way to switch it?
Oh. It's on the GTN 650,
Yes.
and you go to. Hold on, I know it. What's it called? It's Hey.
I'm covering it up. Don't look.
Hold on, I know it. What is it called? It's something navigation. It's
Right. You go there,
Mm.
and then click on that. I'll change that.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
3, 2, 1. Correct. Default nav.
default nav.
And you put CDI, and I'll just change the color between purple and green.
Okay, cool.
Oops, I did not clock in. That's no good.
You're not gonna get me.
I need to be clocked in because I barely worked the last 2 weeks.
You barely worked the past 2 weeks?
Okay.
Last week and the week before, each week I worked about a third of the amount of hours that I usually work.
Dang.
Yeah. Kind of makes sense though with the weather.
Weather, out of town.
You were in town for 3 days.
Yeah,
think that
but
counts.
Thursday
especially-
and Friday is 2 days not working.
Yeah, you did take Thursday off.
Okay, yep, so we set the needles to either GPS, purple, or V-lock, green. Next, radios,
If
right?
you continue on, I'll yell at you.
Huh?
If you continue on, I'll yell at you.
What?
You always get on me about it
I know,
for needles.
Hold on.
don't get it twisted. Radios, which frequency are you on right now?
It's that course for final for needles.
Oh, sorry, he is 100% right. I'm gonna punish myself later for this. I always get on him. Tad, you're distracting me, that's why.
What? What did I do?
Course, check the course with the needles. Check it in GPS, in flight plan. At the missed approach point is where you'll see that final approach course. On your CDI, check to make sure it says course, and then whatever the final approach course is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I always get on him. Of course, I freaking forget it.
I was waiting. I was so waiting.
I had no idea what you're talking about, and I was like, what are you talking about? always set and check the course. When you load the approach in your GPS for like a ground-based approach or whatever, it should automatically set the final approach course for wherever that localizer course should be.
Okay.
For GPS, the initial course that it has in is not going to be your final approach course, right? Because there's going to be different legs of the GPS approach. So whatever that first leg is that you're being vectored to is what it's going to have set. So let's say the final approach course is 360, but you're on the leg down here, right? That looks like 045.
Mhm.
So it's not going to say 360, it'll be scroll through your flight plan and you look at that missed approach point to verify that course, not just what's on here.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
How many approaches have you done so far?
0.
Okay.
Actually, I did the ILS 30 in Long Beach.
Nice.
Do I remember anything from that?
No.
Not really, but it's in my logbook.
Radios. Which radio frequency are you on? Are you on with SoCal? Right, so in this
Yeah.
example, maybe we're on with them. So which frequency do we assume will be next?
If you haven't gotten weather.
Perfect.
So-
If you haven't gotten
ATIS.
weather, it'll be the ATIS. Let's say we've gotten weather.
Tower.
Tower. Perfect. Okay, let's just say we're doing a missed approach, so we're not actually going to land. What frequency should we have in standby? Should we keep it this, or should we put it to ground? Should we put it to ATIS?
Keep approach and standby.
Keep approach, right? So just
In
think
case.
ahead. And it's not a law, you don't have to think too deeply, just what frequency will I be on next?
Yeah,
What makes sense?
because doing a missed approach and trying to get to a holding pattern and trying to switch your standby from ground to approach
Mhm.
and active fumbling that is just nightmare.
ATIS, have you gotten ATIS yet? When is a good time to get ATIS? Well, we have a monitor setting. Does it work the best? No, it does not. Ideally, you should be able to listen to both at the same time. And after you go and fly different planes that have COM 1 and COM 2, right? You can listen, be on frequency and talk to SoCal, but still hear the ATIS. We don't have that. We have one COM, primary standby. So we have a monitor feature, but if ATC is really busy, you're never going to hear that frequency you're monitoring. So maybe a good time would be when you get a frequency change. SoCal tells you to talk to a different SoCal frequency. In the time in between, you got to be really quick and listen to the ATIS. You get information Bravo, and then you contact the new SoCal frequency and let them know sling 1234, 4,000 feet, heading 350, we have Bravo. And then that's out of the way. What would be a better option? If, let's just say, we're doing the local approaches, like the south route, where the approach is happening really quick.
Have it on that. Listen to it while you're still on frequency. Have the monitor now.
SoCal's busy, comms are going boom, 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 boom. They need you to contact really quick. You have a lot going on. You're overwhelmed. It's your check ride. You're trying to fly the plane, not bust minimums, doing whatever, setting up for the approach, thinking ahead. How the heck are we going to find the time to get ATIS in that 1.3 flight? Really short flight for so much.
Maybe get the ATIS on our iPad?
How so?
No, because you won't go get the
Just get the
weather.
METAR, right?
Yeah.
Maybe, but that's not the ATIS. That's not what they want.
Can you get a sort of like a digital version of the ATIS through the G3X? I don't know. That's a question.
So you can view the METAR and get the current weather.
Oh,
But
okay.
you get the letter that goes with it.
If you don't get the letter,
I got it. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take my handheld and I'm gonna hold it up to my ear like this while I'm on my check ride because the GP would love that, and I'll just crank up the volume to my ATIS.
you could do that. Or I'll show you one more thing. So we just finished our oral and like pre-flight's done.
Get the ATIS on the ground or
All on your phone,
Oh,
How'd you get it on?
you can call.
you just click it. Click the 8, it says phone number here, click it, and then you can call.
I didn't
You're
know
flying, isn't that not allowed?
Okay, so when would you get that? Guys are overthinking it.
On the ground?
On the ground.
But how do you know
But I
it's
thought
valid
it-
still?
I thought, yeah, but I thought you were talking about for an approach, so how do you
Yeah.
know if it's still valid?
Okay, so the south route, 3 different approaches, check ride route, right?
Mhm.
About, let's just say a 1.5. When does the ATIS update?
Every hour, but what if they have a specie?
They have a specie, you might not want to be flying, right?
Fair.
Let's just say it's a normal freaking day, beautiful day, but you need to get that weather. It's not changing throughout the day, it's just same weather, but you need that information code. Updates what, every hour at like 50 minutes?
Oh, that's just a time it.
55, right? Okay, let's just say they update it and you call at 55, right as you're about to get in the plane. You're probably gonna do the first 2 approaches
Okay,
before that hour, before updates again.
That's
You know, I
true.
would
Saying the
recommend-
flights can be like 1.3 or so.
Yeah,
so you would recommend before we do the north route and the plane again, I should get Oceanside and Palomar while on the ground?
if you can, yeah, sometimes the phone numbers don't work.
Hmm.
Like, to be honest, and you can't, you have to listen to it in the air, but if you can get it on the ground, get it on the ground.
And it's not like a VFR approach where you can just say, don't got the weather, right?
Even then, I don't know.
I mean, depends on the controller, depends on DP, like, I've told the controller, like, I don't have the ATIS yet, I'll work on that, and they just, they're like, information Bravo's current at Montgomery, winds are this, temperature is this, visibility is this, altimeter this, information code, Bravo. And they just tell me the whole thing.
See, I'm not used to the crazy comms, busy biscuits down here, but when I was doing my private, I had single comm and nav in the 150. I would
We'll
just
see.
tell them I'm hopping over to get the ATIS for 20 seconds, and then I'll be back on frequency.
You can do that too. There's so many different options, right? You can monitor, you can get it on the ground, you can just tell them negative ATIS. Might get a little annoyed with that, but tell them switch frequencies for 20 seconds, or ask them to switch frequencies for 20 seconds. There's different ways to get it, but we spent a lot of time on ATIS. What are you gonna get from that? That's very, very important. The altimeter setting, right? That's gonna, you have the wrong altimeter setting in there, you can go below minimums and that can lead to bad things. We already went over radio. Minimums. So you're setting your minimums, your MDA or your DA for the approach. But while you're doing it, you're also verifying in your flight plan, does the final approach fix minimums? Like, let's just say ILS 24 at Palomar, Sidru, 2,300 feet. Does that match with what it says in your flight plan? Yes, great. Last, missed approach. So you brief the missed approach, but you also verify you have it set up, right? This missed approach requires inbound to VTU VOR. You're gonna hold at VTU VOR. Which frequency should you have in your standby navigate?
VTVR.
VTU VOR, right? And then lastly, and not least, well, yeah, it's least, this is all we have left.
You're doing great.
What can we assume the S is?
I'm not gonna answer that because I know the answer.
Ah. I don't know. Situational awareness.
Sequence.
You always maintain that. Sequence. What does this mean? Activate the right leg of the approach. Let's just say,
I was gonna ask about that earlier with navigation and GPS.
let's just say CLITs, right? This is an intermediate fix, but also an initial approach fix. Whatever leg you load when you activate the approach, or load the approach, it's gonna load the furthest one of whatever you selected. So let's just say we did McKay. So it's gonna go from here to Celix to Bud to the missed approach point. So if we selected this one when we're loading the approach and we hit load or we hit activate, which is gonna activate this.
Okay.
But let's just say we're being vectored to here.
Okay.
We're being vectored in between Silix and Bud.
So then you just go down, you scroll through your flight plan and activate that leg instead.
Yes.
And because that one of the things I sometimes trip up on is knowing and not basically knowing when GPS is going to activate the next leg or not activate the next leg. Like when it'll sequence the flight plan. I understand that if you get vectored around certain legs, it's not gonna automatically do that, so you gotta go in there and activate the new leg yourself. But if you're just, let's say you don't get vectored and you load an approach and you fly the legs, will it auto sequence those legs or do you still have to manually sequence?
If you're flying over it to like, a certain point, yeah, it'll auto sequence. Like
Okay,
if you fly over McKay,
yeah,
it'll start to sequence as you get close to Celix. Even if you're a little bit off of it, if you're like somewhere over here, it should still sequence.
okay.
So it'll auto sequence. But the issue is when you're being vectored, right? And what do we have in lieu of DME?
GPS.
GPS. So that's why it's very important. That's why we always load it into our flight plan. Even if we're not doing a GPS approach,
So we have to have that for the DME.
you have to have that distance information. We don't have like the marker beef and stuff. We don't have the DME, so we need distance. And how we do that is GPS.
Cool.
Question I was asked in my check ride. So do you remember the three? Do you remember the three sort of segments of GPS?
Of how it works, like how to
Like-
get G. Oh yeah. It's
The three, what am I trying to say? Three modes, I guess you could say. Not like user segment, space segment, ground master
Oh,
segment.
that's what I was going to say.
The sensitivity.
yes. There's en route,
Okay, so let's
terminal,
start
and
that
approach.
way.
And then they get
And
more
route.
sensitive as. So en route's least, terminal is middle, and approach is the most sensitive.
What's the sensitivity?
I want to say approach is 0.2 nautical miles or 0.3. Terminal
and routes
2.
And then where do each of these happen?
Terminal, or let's see, en route is anywhere outside. Is it 20 or 30 nautical miles?
30.
30.
So more than 30 nautical miles. Terminal.
It'd be between 30 and is it 10?
So within 30 nautical
Oh, just
miles.
okay. So just within 30.
And approach.
I'm assuming when you're on the approach, so okay, 2 nautical miles.
From the final approach fix.
Hmm.
So here's a scenario. This is a question asked in my check ride. And my lack of answer to this question in my check ride led to the DPE verbatim. I'm gonna go outside for 10 minutes, figure it the fuck out, and come find me. And he left the room, and left me in the room, not knowing what to do, how to answer this.
Damn.
So here we have the missed approach point with the runway.
Mm-hmm.
We have our final approach fix. 2 nautical miles from the final approach fix. our 30 nautical mile point. Let's just say we're here. Oops, that doesn't work. Let's just say we're here. What should that say?
En route,
Let's just say we're here. What should that say?
terminal,
What about here?
still terminal,
What about here?
approach.
Shouldn't it say the type of approach?
It would, if we were doing an RNAV approach, it would say like your minimum. So LPV or LNAV, VNAV, or LNAV.
Yeah.
But yes, you get the point, right?
Yes.
So let's just say we are. Let's just say we're right here. What should it say? Or actually, no, let's rewind. Let's just say we're here. What should it say?
Approach.
Okay, but we're getting this enunciation.
That means your leg isn't activated.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. So you know that because we went over this and understood why sequence is so important. And I don't understand why people don't include it with their NRAMs. You forgot to activate, or you did not activate the correct leg. Let's just say we get vectored like this. We're somewhere over here, and we get vectored like that. We're going like this, we get vectored over here, and then we get vectored like that. We got vectored here. It should say approach mode, but it says en route because this leg is still activated. Right? The first leg when we load the approach, and we didn't sequence the correct leg.
Got it. So
Very, very important.
yeah, that would make sense.
And that's why I teach everybody to put sequence in your NRAMs.
Makes sense.
And I've written it on the board out there, and people have erased sequence from it.
Seriously?
I don't understand it, yeah. This is check guard questions, questions that my students have been asked on their face check. Actually, that's after I told the instructor to ask it. Students on check drives have been asked this. I cannot harp enough why it's important to activate the right leg.
Got it.
Even if you're doing a ground-based approach, ILS, whatever, right? We don't have DME. We have GPS and Illumine of DME. So if you don't activate the right
just
leg, you're not where you actually are, right? You're under the foggles. You can't see, oh, I know this waypoint or this fix is near this mountain. Well, guess what? You can't see the mountain. You're an IMC. So how do you know? You have to sequence.
Okay.
Okay, we spent a lot of time on that. I have a flight at 9 too, so I gotta go soon. It's my flight, so I have to pre-flight.
It's your flight?
Yeah, I'm flying multi.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense.
So the briefing on a Jepson, it lays it out perfectly for you. So this is how I would do this brief. All right. We have the ILS Yankee runway 8 into Burbank, California. KBUR, valid since July 5th, 2024. The ATIS we got on 134.5 with information Bravo. SoCal frequency, we're on with them right now, 134.2. Towers 118.7, we have that in standby. And ground, we do not need. The localizer frequency 109.5, verify it's in primary. Final approach course is set to 079, and we are on green needles. But the final approach fix is at 2,753. That's a strange altitude. Verify in your flight plan. There's Bud, 2,753 feet. Our ILS decision altitude minimums are set at 1,555. We have those set. Airport elevation 778, touchdown zone elevation 727. Our missed approach, we're climbing 1800, climbing right turn to 4600, and heading 210 inbound V2 VOR radial 076 and hold. We have V2 nav frequency in standby, and in our flight plan, the missed approach is loaded. Notes, right? Only read what's important. We're not flying this at night. We're not flying this at night. Localizer not unusable within 0.9 nautical miles of the threshold. That's an important one for us to note, right? Runway helicopter, we're not a helicopter. So the only one that's really important is number 4.
And that's 0.9 nautical miles to threshold. Means that, so when your point, is that your proximity to
So
the
that's the
threshold?
missed approach point.
Oh,
So you see right here how it says 0.9?
Yeah,
There's the threshold, there's the M for missed approach. At this point, let's just say you're doing the localizer, right? You go down to your minimums. Actually, let's just say we're doing the ILS to keep it. ILS 1555. We're following the glide slope down from Bud. Once we're here, that should take us to our ILS minimums of 1,555. But let's just say, if we don't see the runway at this point at 1,555, we're going miss, right? But let's just say we reach 1,555 somewhere right here within that 0.9. Right, we're not going miss yet because we haven't reached our decision altitude. Glide slope might be a little off because we're not at our DA right here at the missed approach point. But if we're right here, now that localizer is unusable within 0.9. Why? I don't know.
Okay.
But keep that in mind if you're still in IMC descending down. Now at that point, you're hopefully through the clouds and can see, and then don't need the localizer, you can just navigate visually. But that'd be an important note for us to say.
good question.
Yeah.
For a check ride, I'm assuming it's sort of like how private is, where you do your landings. Okay, well then they're gonna, they have to see it go around. So they're at some point you'll have to do a missed approach and do it.
Yeah, so ACF standards, you have to do 3 different approaches. So usually south route, ILS to a right in Montgomery, go missed, VOR, Alpha into Brown, go missed, and then localizer, Delta back into Gillespie. So 3 different approaches, and you have to do a circle to land. So it'll be that localizer Delta where you circle to land 27 left.
So basically, you just do 3 approaches and you just do missed on both of them, and then come back here and do a circle.
And you'll learn there's no set way of doing that miss because you're not going to be doing the full missed approach. Like for the ILS to a right in Montgomery, it has you go to like Mission Bay or something like that. They're not going to have you go there. You're
So
just
just
going to
take
go
up too much time.
right down in departure.
Okay.
And you'll learn as you start to do it. Okay, for this approach, just for sake of check ride, we're going to be doing it right down in departure. So what's the reciprocal of 280?
100.
Oh, thank you. Basically right there. 100. So when you go miss, just do it right down into 100. Now, what altitude should you climb up to? That's a big question. Bravo shelf starts at 4,800. You're not going to go above 4,800. What approach are you doing next? We're doing the VOR Alpha into Brown. What's the initial approach fix that they usually vector you to or tell you direct to? Haley. What altitude does that start at? 4,000. So what altitude should you climb to?
Climb to 4.
4,000. So you think ahead, you plan ahead, and the more you do it over and over and over, you'll see, okay, this makes sense to do it this way.
Okay. Doesn't seem too bad. It's just.
Yeah, so we went over all this. This is just the chart index, like where it's found. Talked about the notes. Altimeter setting is in inches, transition. We always use 18,000 feet, right? So that's for class alpha. Look for notes here. So occasionally you'll see like a little 1 or a 2, alternate missed approach hold. So in case in the NOTAMs it says use your alternate missed approach hold, you'll be doing this instead of this.
And how do you know when to use the alternate?
NOTAMs.
Oh.
On ForeFlight, it'll have that red little, it'll say like NOTAMs right here, and you just click on it.
And that'll tell you. Okay.
It'll say VTU VOR out of service, alternate missed approach and use
okay.
notes, whatever.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah, you just have to look over the Jepson charts and you'll see
Just reading it like
all these. Like here's like a plan and profile view. which is a top-down view, and then a side view. You have right here, so this is your ground speed, let's just say we're doing 90 knots, which is our standard. 478 feet per minute. So you know if you're more than 478 feet per minute, you'll start to get below the glide slope. If you're less than that, you'll start to get above the glide slope. It also has timing, so let's just say we didn't have GPS. We're maintaining 90 knots from Bud to the missed approach point. The timing is for usually non-precision approaches, but get into the habit of doing it on the precision. It should take 3 minutes and 28 seconds from Bud to the missed approach point. Information about our minimums, visibility, ceiling. Decision altitude split into two parts. Normal minimums, and then if the different equipment is out of service. Type of lighting, PAPI and the Mauser, and then sort of a depicted version of the missed approach.
Okay.
Which right here is that. Here's our missed approach, sort of a visual, right? Because maybe Ventura VOR is somewhere down here, so it can't be, there's not enough room to depict it, so they put a little box. Our circle land minimums, why would we do circle land? Well, maybe the runway, the whatever this was, the ILS 8, that runway, the winds don't favor that. So we're gonna circle the land on the runway where the winds favor.
So is when would you use the circle land and really like what I've read about it in the
So there's three
high
reasons.
school, but what is it like? What does it look like?
It depends on the approach, but let's do the RNAV 17. So here's 17, here's 27 right, and then there's 27 left, right?
Mm-hmm.
Winds are 270. So winds are like this.
Right.
You're doing this approach in. Could you land right here? Yeah, let's say it's 270 at. Let's bump it up. 270 at 18. What are we not allowed to do at this point?
That's 1.7.
Why?
It's over
Max crosswind, right, of 15. So now we have to circle, right? So how it's gonna go is they'll tell you.
I think I've seen someone actually do this out here. That's when it's kind of looks like a teardrop. They're basically on the approach for 17.
Yep.
I've seen them. They go like that.
So they'll say at high rack, which is right here. Oh god, it's horrible. At high rack, circle southeast to enter the left downwind for runway 27 left, 27 left, clear to land. That's essentially what it'll look like. You'll wait until you're at midfield. It'll probably be a little more down here like that.
Okay.
So circle to land. 3 reasons. Winds. The winds do not favor the runway of which the approach you're doing. 2, descent angle is greater than the standard of 3 degrees. 3, sorry, my handwriting's horrible. Runway offset greater than 30 degrees. We gotta finish up soon, but.
Are you looking at the fact that Gillespie's 27 right is an 8 degree?
Yeah, I'll show you. So Gillespie, let's start with the RNAV 17. The final approach course. Is 147. The runway straight in, which as you can see, there's straight in here, is 170. What's 170 minus 147? Is it more than 30 degrees?
No.
No, so you can do straight in. For this example, let's just say winds are favoring runway 27. We always want to land in the winds, even if we think we could do crosswind. If you have the option to land in the wind, do it. That's why there's a circling. So number
Okay.
one, winds.
And that's just up to you to decide if you wanna do a scroll.
Number two, localizer delta, standard of 3 degrees descent rate, right? Look at this. From Debbie down to land, it is 6.88 degrees. Can you do that normally? Right? Can we maintain a stable approach using normal maneuvers? No, you have to forward slip the entire time from Debbie all the way down to land. Is forward slip a normal maneuver in IMC? No. So that's why localizer delta only has a circle land. Now midfield, you'll circle south to enter the left downwind for runway 27 left.
Okay, so on that approach, you always circle.
So that's reason number two.
Under VFR, you can ask to go visual and then
Yeah.
forward slip.
Reason number three. VR alpha into brown. Final approach course 156. You're coming down this way, 156. Look at these runways. Runway heading, let's just say for here is 26, right? 260 minus 156, 104 degrees. It's more than that 30 degrees. So those are the three reasons of why you do a circle land.
Okay,
Good.
good.
We could go more into approach plates, different day. Well, let's go ahead and call it today, and we'll sort of resume on this tomorrow. Good.
Okay.
Yep.